Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. Well, I always call my buddy Jigger Jim to see how the fishing is in Black Lake. Not many people are fishing there right now. He said he hasn't been going after crappies, so he said, I can't tell you anything right now, although he says there's seems to be only about 3 boats at a time out on the lake fishing crappies by what he can take in. And he says he always talks to the guy that's at the boat launch on Black Lake, who is taking surveys there and checking boats and so forth. And he tells them that, yeah, these 3 boats are coming in and they're doing well. And my buddy Mike Bean, who is a terrific bass fisherman, he loves crappie fishing so much that this is where Mike has been fishing most of the time, and he's going out for crappies. And there's, let's face it, Black Lake is one of our real gems, and there's probably hundreds of thousands, maybe, I don't know the numbers, but there's so many crappie in that lake that's really incredible. And so if you can get into crappie fishing, this is still one of our best places to go. But Jigger Jim has been fishing bass, and he's told me that even now, and I just talked to him this morning, he said even now he's still catching a lot of bass going out. He's using jigs, and he says he's shifted to bucktail jigs. And I said, Jim, tell me why. Why would you use bucktails? Of course, my whole life, bucktail jigs have been my favorite, but I wanted to hear it from somebody else. And he says, well, especially if you're using the natural colors, brown and black, it looks natural to the fish. And Black Lake is pretty clear right now. And he says, so the fish can see them well. And I says, so what length do you use? And he says, I like short, stubby ones, the opposite of what I've always used in my life. But I'm listening to Jim. And I said, when I told him what I use, he says, so how do you change the length? And he was waiting for me to say, take a pair of scissors and cut off the tip. He said, never, never, ever do that. The fish will know because it'll look fake, because when you cut them with scissors, they're all the same length. He says, take a lighter or a match and burn the end. Just let it start to burn and then put it out with your hands or blow on it or whatever. But what that will do is it will make the fibers different length. That bucktail, it won't burn the same, so it will look more natural. They won't all be the same length. They'll look scattered. And he says this is one of the keys to having a really effective bucktail jig. And then we got into, okay, what's the best way to jig? And he says, it's changing. You got to get in a certain rhythm, and you got to test it. Do you pause? Your pauses, as the water gets colder, your pauses have got to be longer before you lift it. How far do you lift it? That you have to experiment with, because the fish will tell you. And he always starts with 3, raises it 3 times and pauses. Then he goes to 2. Then he goes to 1. I guess the real secret to all this is experiment and be aware that the height of how you raise it, the speed of how you raise it, all that can make a difference, whether it triggers a strike or not. But the jig fishing right now, especially, he says, for smallmouth, he says they just hit it so hard. This is a great time for jig fishing, especially in Black Lake. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.